Hello everyone, Dr. Matt Ed. Today we'll talk about how to measure QTc. We'll talk about which segment to measure QT interval, when and how to correct for QT interval using Bazett's formula. How do we exactly measure QT interval? You start measuring at the first deflection after P wave and PR segment as shown over here. And where do we stop measuring for the T wave? You draw the highest slope from the T wave, and where the slope intersects on the baseline is where you stop measuring as shown in the picture, like over here. So what happens when the EKG shows a prolonged QRS due to bundle branch blocks or V pacing, and this is the way to correct for that. We know that normal QRS is about 100 milliseconds. So if QRS is over 100 milliseconds, you subtract from QT the amount that is over 100 milliseconds. For example, in this picture, here the QRS is 240 milliseconds. So what you do is subtract 240 minus 100, that's about 140, and then you take the total QT interval, which is 640, minus 140, then that gives you about 500 milliseconds. And if the patient has a heart rate that's greater than 60, we will use Bazett's formula to calculate the corrected QTc. To do this, QTc equals QT, so you find the QT interval from before, divided by square root of RR interval, so that's between the interval between the two R waves. And in this example, we have 0.52 divided by the square root of 0.98, and at the end that gives you 0.53 seconds or 530 milliseconds, which is a prolonged QTc. Just a word about normal QTc in men and women. So in men it's 350 to 450 milliseconds, and in women it's 360 to 460 milliseconds. And just an interesting way to remember this is that on average, women lives longer, so therefore they can tolerate higher QTc, and so their QTc interval is longer than men. If you thought this video was helpful, please like, subscribe, and look out for my next video. Thank you for listening.